Welcome to today's deep dive. I want to jump right in and, well, actually, I want to ask you, the listener, to picture a very specific and probably very frustrating moment from your own life.
Oh, we've all had those moments.
Right. Think about a time you set this massive goal for yourself. You mapped out the entire plan and then boom, you immediately hit a brick wall.
Usually a lack of resources.
Exactly. Maybe it was a total lack of funding. Or maybe you realized you didn't have access to the right software or the equipment or the right network of people to actually make it happen.
Yeah, that sudden realization of what you don't have.
Yeah. And in that moment of like acute frustration, you threw your hands up, looked at the roadblock and thought, fine, if I can't afford to hire this out, I'll just learn how to do it all myself.
It is the ultimate default setting for high achievers.
It really is.
When we face a barrier, our immediate impulse is to roll up our sleeves, pivot, and, try to become a one-person army. We've been completely conditioned to view self-reliance as the ultimate virtue,
Right. And that exact impulse is what we are completely dismantling today.
which I'm really excited about.
Me too.
Yeah.
For this deep dive, we are unpacking an incredibly sharp audio reflection, simply titled, Master What You Already Have.
It's a great source.
It is. Our mission here is to actively challenge that modern hustle culture obsession with constantly acquiring brand new skills just to fill in your blind spots.
Yeah, that pressure to learn everything.
Exactly. Together, we're going to explore why doubling down on the things you already excel at, the skills that actually come naturally to you, isn't just some, like, feel-good strategy.
Right, it's practical.
It might actually be the most ruthless, efficient shortcut to bypassing your limitations entirely.
To really grasp the gravity of this, we have to look at the macro environment you and I are operating in right now.
Okay, set the stage for us.
We are basically drowning in a sea of information overload. Everywhere you look, your feed is serving you a new tutorial, a new coding bootcamp.
Oh man, the boot camps.
Right, a masterclass on SEO optimization or video editing. The implicit message is always that you must be a jack of all trades to survive in the modern economy.
Yeah, that if you can't do it all, you're vulnerable.
Exactly. But the perspective we're exploring today flips that entirely on its head. It forces us to look at the hidden and frankly devastating opportunity cost of ignoring our natural talents just to fixate on our gaps.
Okay, so let's get into the mechanics of how this trap actually works. The speaker in the audio reflection introduces this concept they call working outside of self.
Working outside of self, yeah.
And they describe it as this incredibly destructive pattern where you end up working massive amounts of overtime, doing way more than is actually necessary, all to try and absorb a completely foreign skill, rather than maximizing the talent that is already sitting right there inside of you.
The psychology behind why we do this is fascinating, really. Human behavior is fundamentally driven by localized problem solving.
Okay, break that down for me.
So, when you hit a tangible barrier, let's say you want to launch a business but you don't know how to build a website, that barrier is right in your face. It's acute.
Right, it's the only thing you can see.
Exactly. So your brain says, I have a localized problem. I need a localized solution. I must learn web design. The audio reflection captures this trap perfectly by noting that when you make this pivot, it just sounds so smart at the beginning.
It does. It feels empowering.
Right, but it's a trap.
But let me play devil's advocate here for a second because I can hear you, the listener, thinking this too. Doesn't it make sense to be self-sufficient?
It seems like it would.
Because we live in an era where agility is everything. If I want to launch a project and I have to wait around for a web designer to fit me into their schedule, I'm losing time. If I just learn the basics myself, I control the timeline. Doesn't self-reliance actually equal speed?
It feels like speed, but it's actually an illusion of momentum.
An illusion?
Yeah. What you are doing is stepping completely out of your zone of comparative advantage. Sure, you might learn the absolute basics of web design, but you are taking your limited, finite energy and pouring it into an area where you have zero natural inclination.
Wow. Okay, yeah.
That means your return on that investment of time is going to be incredibly low. You're burning premium fuel in a highly inefficient engine. And while you are doing that, you have completely abandoned your core competency.
I can actually relate to this painfully well.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
I remember a few years ago trying to learn to code my own back end for a project just to save some startup capital.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was bad. I spent 3 weeks basically crying at my keyboard, watching endless tutorials, and at the end of it, I had a broken, buggy homepage.
Which is frustrating enough on its own.
But the real tragedy wasn't the broken homepage.
Yeah.
It was that for those 3 entire weeks, I hadn't written a single word of actual content.
You completely paused the one thing you were actually good at.
Exactly. I stopped writing.
You fell right into the trap of working outside of self. You felt productive because learning a new skill gives you those quick dopamine hits of beginner progress.
Right, checking off boxes on a tutorial.
But strategically, you were actively stalling your own project.
Which brings us perfectly to the core analogy from the source material. It's this fantastic, extended scenario about a musician, and I think it perfectly illustrates how this plays out in the real world.
It's a great example.
So picture a rapper, a singer, or really any type of creator. Their core talent, their natural gift, is making music.
Yeah.
But they run into that classic access problem.
They need to record, but they can't afford the studio time.
Exactly. Or maybe the specific high-tier studio they want is incredibly expensive and located all the way across the country.
This is the critical juncture. This is the inflection point where the creative has to make a strategic choice about how they are going to navigate a seemingly insurmountable external limitation.
The lack of capital and access is very real.
Very real. The question is how they solve it.
Right. And the audio outlines 2 completely divergent paths this musician can take. Let's start with the first one, which we'll call the distracted approach.
The trap we've been talking about.
Exactly. The musician looks at this expensive, distant studio and says, well, if I can't afford to get in there, I'm going to take a hiatus from writing music and creating content.
Huge mistake.
They decide, I'm going to learn how to be the studio engineer myself. I'll buy the software, learn the production side, the mixing, the mastering, all of it.
And as we just established, this sounds incredibly pragmatic at first. They think they are cutting out the middleman.
Being independent.
Right, becoming an independent powerhouse. But if we follow this thread to its logical conclusion, the insight from the analysis is incredibly stark. Think about the energy transfer here. They are taking all their focus away from their natural gift, lyricism, flow, musicality, and forcing it into highly technical sound engineering, which is a completely different discipline.
So they spend, say, 6 months learning how to mix audio. But that means they just lost 6 months of actually writing lyrics.
Exactly.
They've actively stalled their own momentum. And let me guess, because production is not their natural talent, the end result is pretty underwhelming.
The source is brutally honest about this. The result of all that painful effort is that they eventually produce what is, at best, an okay song.
An okay song. In today's market, an okay product is essentially invisible.
It is the death knell. The tragedy here is that the lyricism might actually still be phenomenal. Their natural talent is still there in the vocal performance.
But the production drags it down.
Yes, because the production, the part they force themselves to learn from scratch is mediocre. It drags the entire value of the song down. The final product is compromised.
And as the reflection points out, the ultimate outcome is that nobody's ever going to hear it. It just won't cut through the noise.
And wait, it actually gets worse.
Oh man, how?
As I was reviewing this material, the absolute painful irony of the distracted approach really hit me. After wasting all of that precious time getting mediocre at music production, the musician suddenly wakes up to a massive deficit.
Because they stopped their other stuff.
Exactly. They have this okay song, but because they stopped creating their usual content and abandoned their social media presence to learn how to mix audio, nobody knows who they are anymore.
That is the hidden cost of context switching right there.
By stepping away from their natural talents to build a supplementary skill, they lost whatever audience momentum they had.
The algorithm moved on.
Their fans moved on. They sacrificed their unique gift to become a second-rate producer, and now they are entirely behind. They have to start completely from scratch just to learn how to market themselves again.
It's a massive strategic failure disguised as hard work. They thought they were being resourceful, but they were actually just diluting their primary value.
It completely exposes the flaw in this idea that we need to bootstrap absolutely everything ourselves.
It really does challenge that narrative. If the distracted approach leads to burnout, obscurity, and a mediocre final product, we have to look at how the exact same access problem can be solved through a different mental model.
Which brings us to the alternative path.
Right. The audio reflection doesn't just diagnose the disease. It offers a clear, actionable cure. And that strategy is to aggressively maximize your existing skills. You work exclusively with what is already inside of you.
This requires a fundamental shift in how you view your resources. You have to move from a mindset of deficit, constantly auditing what you lack and trying to fix it, to a mindset of extreme abundance regarding the tools you already possess.
Let's run our musician through this second path and see how it plays out.
Let's do it.
They are facing the exact same roadblock. No money, no access. The top-tier studio is thousands of miles away. But this time, instead of abandoning their craft to learn software engineering or mixing, they take a hard inventory of their natural talents.
And the source provides a very specific list of what this particular creator brings to the table.
Yes, so they are naturally gifted at music, they have a great eye for graphic design, they understand the rhythm of social media, they know how to shoot engaging videos, and maybe they've even figured out how to leverage a bit of AI for their visuals.
Notice the synergy in that list. All of those skills, while distinct, are interconnected around the core competency of expression and audience building.
They aren't pivoting to a purely technical foreign skill.
No, they are looking at the specific levers they already know how to pull.
So instead of agonizing over the studio time they can't afford, they double down on what they can control. They say, I'm going to keep writing. I might have to record vocals in my closet on a cheap mic for now, but I'm going to lean heavily into my other strengths.
Use their video and social media skills.
Exactly. They start posting raw rap videos on TikTok. They use their graphic design skills to overlay incredible visuals on top of the videos. They just keep iterating day after day, mastering the exact things that actually come naturally to them.
If we isolate the mechanics of the strategy, what we are witnessing is the compounding effect of focused mastery.
Compounding effect, yeah.
By pouring their energy entirely into these natural skills, their progress isn't just linear, it's exponential. Because they have a natural inclination for video and design, every iteration gets significantly better, significantly faster than their attempts at sound engineering ever would have.
Right. They're working with their internal grain rather than exhausting themselves trying to sand against it.
Perfectly said.
Okay, but let's address the elephant in the room here.
Let's hear it.
They are making great TikToks, the graphics look amazing, the lyrics are fire, but they still don't have a professional studio. Haven't they just ignored the original problem?
They haven't ignored the problem. They've fundamentally changed the nature of the problem.
How so?
By focusing on their natural skills, the source notes that they start racking up thousands of views. They build a dedicated audience. And because of that audience, they actually start earning money directly through social media monetization.
Oh, they bypassed the barrier completely.
Exactly.
They didn't solve the studio problem by learning how to build a studio. They solved it by becoming so undeniable at their actual craft that they generated a totally new stream of leverage.
Precisely. And this is where the two different paths finally reveal their ultimate destinations. This is the core thesis of the entire reflection.
This is the absolute aha moment for me.
It's powerful.
Because the musicians stayed relentlessly focused, because they mastered their content and their music, they gained the one thing that changes the entire equation: massive visibility.
Visibility is everything.
And the reflection points out that inevitably somebody's going to see those highly engaging videos on their feed and realize, wow, this creator has incredible raw talent. And who is that somebody? It's the studio owners.
It's the people who have already put in their own 10,000 hours to master their respective skill. The studio owner didn't spend their time learning how to rap or make TikToks. They spent their time mastering acoustics, mixing boards, and vocal production.
Exactly. So the studio owner reaches out to our musician. And the source quotes this hypothetical exchange perfectly. The owner says, hey, I have a top-tier studio right here. Our collaboration will be great.
Let's just pause on that. Our collaboration will be great. That is the magic phrase.
It gives me chills, honestly.
It is the ultimate validation of the strategy. If we extract the broader philosophy here for you, the listener, the profound lesson is that mastering your own skills puts you in direct magnetic proximity to other masters.
Magnetic proximity.
True mastery is a currency. You do not need to learn the complexities of production or supply chain management or back-end coding or whatever your specific blind spot happens to be.
Because someone else already has.
Exactly. Because your total undeniable mastery in your own specific area will act as the key that unlocks the doors to other people's mastery.
You trade your leverage for their leverage. It's an ecosystem. The studio owner has the capital and the infrastructure, but they need attention and raw talent to run through their business.
And the musician has the attention and the talent, but needs the infrastructure.
It's a perfect Symbiotic trade.
And look at how the external barrier has been completely dismantled. The physical limitation of the studio being across the country or being too expensive is no longer relevant.
Because their core skills generated the necessary resources. The text points out that now, with the money they are making from their massive social media presence, it's absolutely nothing for them to go ahead and pay the premium rate.
Yes, pocket change at that point.
It's nothing for them to book the flight, travel across the country, and walk through the front doors of that top-tier studio. They bought their way in using the currency of their own focus mastery.
Contrast that with the ultimate tragedy of the first path. If that musician had taken the distracted route, if they had diluted their energy to build new skills they were only ever going to be okay at, they never would have reached the velocity required to open those doors.
Never.
They would never have earned the social media revenue, they would never have gained the visibility, and they certainly would never have attracted the attention of the master studio owner.
They would just be sitting alone in a bedroom, completely burnt out, holding an okay self-produced track that the algorithm is going to completely ignore.
It's chilling when you lay it out like that.
It really is. It forces you to look at your own to-do list and question how much of your daily grind is actually just productive procrastination. Are you working on your genius, or are you just playing defense against your weaknesses?
It challenges the very foundation of traditional personal development, which often preaches that your weaknesses are liabilities that must be aggressively fixed.
Right, fix your gaps.
But this analysis argues the exact opposite. Obsessing over your weaknesses is the real liability because it consumes the bandwidth you desperately need to turn your natural strengths into undeniable magnetic mastery.
As we start to synthesize everything we've pulled from this source today, I want to distill this down to the core strategic takeaway for you listening right now.
Let's hear it.
The central lesson of this deep dive is to fiercely protect your focus. Do not take your eyes off the skills that come naturally to you. Don't pause your true passions, and don't stall your own momentum just to grind away at building supplementary skills that you will realistically only ever be mediocre at. Becoming an absolute master of what you already have, working exclusively with what is already inside of you, isn't just a motivational concept. It is a highly tactical shortcut. It is the literal key to creating high-level opportunities and bypassing the roadblocks that are currently frustrating you.
And as we bring this deep dive to a close, I want to leave you with one final provocative question to mull over.
I love these.
It requires some honest, perhaps uncomfortable self-reflection about how you are managing your own potential right now. If it is fundamentally true that mastery acts as a magnet, that being truly exceptional at your core competency naturally attracts the exact people who can flawlessly fill in your blind spots, is your own obsession with total independence actually holding you back?
Wow. That is the exact right question to be asking.
Yeah. Think about the one new, incredibly frustrating skill that you are forcing yourself to learn this very week. The one that feels like a constant, draining, uphill battle. What if abandoning that skill entirely, taking all of that reclaimed time and energy, and doubling down on your greatest natural strength is the exact move that will finally attract the specific help and access you've been fighting for? What if letting go of being a jack of all trades is the only mathematical way to become a master of one?
You already have the tools you need to succeed. The mandate now is to sharpen them until they are undeniable. I want to thank you for joining us on today's deep dive. We hope this conversation gives you the permission to drop the heavy, frustrating tasks that don't serve your natural talents and encourages you to start maximizing what is already in your toolkit. Keep mastering your craft, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.